You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Reynolds, the owner of Summit Properties Northwest, Reynolds and Kline Appraisal, but most importantly, your host of this episode of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. My social media manager, Darian Dunstan, just informed me we hit 4 million views on YouTube. So thank you for everybody that's watching on YouTube. That's a crazy number of views. Considering I'm just an old guy talking about what I kind of know. Seems nutty, but I'm just going to keep doing it. As long as you guys keep watching, thank you for tuning in and watching. I'm going to keep going. What are we talking about today? We're talking about one of our favorite topics. We're talking about our communist/socialist Seattle City Council member, Kshama Sawant. She had an appeal of her recall ruling overruled. The recall is moving forward. So let's jump on in. But thanks again on 4 million views on YouTube. That's a crazy number. That's all I can say. That's a crazy number. But I don't know. Things just never seem to cease to shock me. All right, let's jump on into this story. Judge denies City Council member Kshama Sawant's appeal of recall ruling. What I do is I find these articles on my phone a lot of times. I have a whole bunch of different news apps. And then I will text them to myself, and then I will find them on my computer so that I do a quick search for them on my computer. Probably a really disjointed way of doing it, but that's how I'm doing it. And today, so when I went to find this article on Councilmember Kshama Sawant's appeal of recall ruling, I didn't have her name in there, and I was shocked at how many council members across the United States are involved in civic disputes, court rulings, just all kinds of legal stuff. It's like, what is going on with our politicians at the city council level? Why is this so prevalent? I mean, we've got 2 recalls going on right now. One of them just got shut down with Mayor Jenny Durkan, and I'm going to read about that towards the end of this. But yeah, a whole bunch of city council people doing crazy stuff, getting in trouble. Ugh, it's not good. Our politicians, not good. King County judges, and this is an article in Como News, our local news. A King County judge has rejected an attempt by Seattle City Council member Kshama Sawant to prevent a recall effort against her from going forward. Sawant had appealed an earlier decision by Superior Court Judge Jim Rogers that some of her recent actions crossed the threshold to initiate a recall, but Rogers on Monday rejected her appeal. No, we're going to let this one go forward. You are on the hot seat. We are going to keep you there. Keep in mind that the city of Seattle is paying for her legal fees on this recall. Did a podcast about that. I actually agreed with the fact, okay, everybody's got to have the same fair chance, but even though she's a socialist and leaning towards the side of communism, everybody gets a fair shot at their due process of law, right? So City of Seattle, you guys are paying for her legal fees. Does that seem right? I don't know. Most of the time I would say no on this, but in the event that she does get booted out, let's just not have her have any ability to say, well, you guys didn't support me on this part of it, which you said you would when I signed up for this job, said you'd cover my legal fees, and here we are. So City of Seattle, how much you pay? I think it was up to $75,000. The taxpayers are paying for her legal defense of being recalled. I laugh, and it's not funny. It's crazy. In his 5-page ruling, Rogers reiterated his earlier finding that 4 complaints cited in the recall petition against Councilmember Sawant did rise to the level of malfeasance and denied Sawant's motion for reconsideration in its entirety. Just basically said, boom, you're out of here. This doesn't stand up in the court of law. Not in my court of law. I don't know what he said, but that's what I'm making up. Judges don't usually talk that way, just on TV. The ruling means that the recall effort against Sawant can proceed. Sawant, a socialist and vocal proponent of defunding Seattle police, will now have to fend off the effort to remove her from office, even while she continues her drive to bring reform to City Hall. So she's trying to bring reform, and she's being recalled at the same time. Does anybody else see the irony in this scenario? It's like, okay, you're going down that road, And I'm pretty sure the rest of us are going down this road over here, and it doesn't really involve what you're doing over here. But then again, City of Seattle citizens did elect you to public office. And not once, but I think 2 or 3 times, I think. And the most recent was, I think, a year and a half ago. I mean, just some incredible stuff going on here, but in her district, she's got the pull. Just wild. Meanwhile, she also has appealed Judge Rogers' earlier ruling to the state Supreme Court, which has not made a decision or said they will accept the case. So she threw it up there, waiting to see if it sticks. May or may not. They might hear it, might not even accept it. The recall complaint against Sawant was filed by Ernie Liu, who lives in Capitol Hill, and earlier told Como News that he believes Sawant has lost touch with her district and its constituents. Lost touch. I don't know that she has, because she's basically had these political beliefs the whole time, right? It's just we've got into this whole defunding the police and so much crazy activity going on in her district. And the stuff that happened this summer at CHOP did not help. She really jumped on that bandwagon. I mean, she really jumped on that and got really involved to the point where she was leading a protest against Seattle Mayor Durkan's home, who is a former federal prosecutor. I am a no-go on that one. That probably makes me the most upset. You got a federal prosecutor who is supposed to have some sense of protection about having her residence and where her family lives exposed. Well, Sawant literally led a protest on her home. They did some vandalism. Durkan was not home. She was at Town Hall, I think it was, City Hall, whatever it is, Seattle City Hall. She was there. She was anywhere but at home. But how would you like to know that a bunch of Looney Tunes, Black Lives Matter supporters, and Antifa are headed to your home, led by one of your city's elected officials, to do a little vandalism, do a little bit of graffiti. We're going to do some graffiti, maybe break into your home. We don't know. That didn't happen, but Durkan lives in a pretty nice area of Seattle, and that must have been just like, oh my gosh. So I'm a no-go on this action that Sawant did, even though I don't believe in a lot of what Mayor Durkan believes in. That's besides the point. People have to have some level of protection, especially when you are a Western District federal prosecutor. And I believe I've got that correct as Durkan's legal background. And then she was the basically lead attorney at a Seattle law firm. She's a badass attorney, no doubt about it. But yeah, you can't lead a protest with a bunch of nut jobs to your mayor's home. That is out of line. That to me is, I don't care if it breaks the law or not, that's just out of line. I mean, what are you doing at that point? You're going to have some repercussions for that kind of thing. All right. So whether Sawant is out of touch with her district or not, she's doing some stuff that a lot of people would say, you crossed the line here. You broke the law. You're not fulfilling your obligations as a Seattle City Council member. Let's kind of go a little further and see what else she's doing. Under state law, an elected official can be recalled after an involved process that begins with a recall filing submitted to the county's elections office. Once county workers have verified the filer's complaint of charges, have followed the property technical requirements required by the law, the request is forwarded to the county prosecutor's office before a judge decides if the allegations rise to the level of a recall. That's why I could never be in politics. I could never be one of these whistleblower guys, because I would read that paragraph and go, oh my gosh, that sounds boring, and that's a lot of work that may or may not end up with anything. And I'm going to have to go through so much political nonsense, red tape to get where I want to go. No can do. That's why I'm in the private sector. That's why I'm a business owner, and I literally do kind of what I want to do without having all this kind of stuff thrown out in front of me. But that's just me. According to the Washington State Constitution, an elected official can be recalled if that politician has committed some act or acts of malfeasance or misfeasance while in office, or who has violated his oath of office. Shouldn't that be his or her oath of office? I think it should. We know what everybody means, but it's funny how the language in the Washington State Constitution says his oath of office. The judge found that 4 complaints cited in the recall petition against Sawant did rise to the level of malfeasance, including that, Sawant violated city and state laws by misusing city resources and her official authority when she opened City Hall in June to the CHOP protesters, the violent rioters, who staged a late-night demonstration inside the building. I can't remember if I did a podcast on this or not, but I certainly talked about it a fair amount. And the words that described what the inside of Town Hall looked like was something along the lines of a war zone. It looked like a war zone. That's what those protesters looked like. They're geared up for war. They've got knee pads on because they might have to hit the ground. They've got helmets on because they are throwing stuff at the police, including frozen water bottles. They're throwing projectiles. Guess what? Sometimes you get projectiles back. They've got goggles on a lot of times to protect their eyes. They've got gas masks either hooked to a backpack or slung around their neck so you can easily put it up. They've got backpacks with a bunch of stuff because that's where you got to carry your weapons, and you got to carry maybe you've got a shield to the outside of that backpack. These people are literally going to war. That's what's happening. And then sometimes the selected few, they get all of the shields. So you have a wall of shields up at the front of the line, and the policemen are just across that line, and then you've got your violent rioters behind you / the peaceful protesters, and you lob stuff over the people's shields, because it's war. It's war. And that's why you've got what looks like a war zone inside City Hall in Seattle during CHOP, led by one of your council members. That's stellar. And maybe there wasn't anything legally wrong with opening up city council to the protesters, because I don't think they messed it up, did they? I don't think so. I think people are like, okay, this would be, even in their limited mental capabilities as protesters, they're able to figure out, okay, if we mess up City Hall, that's not going to be good. Shouldn't do that. I think they left it alone for the most part. But just about anywhere those protesters go, they tag up everything, because for some reason they seem to feel that graffiti leaves their mark, and they're maybe like a dog peeing in some neighbor's yard. That's how I kind of feel. But it's more annoying, because then you got to clean up all that graffiti, and it's just not very adult-like. It's not cool, and that's why I'm not a fan of the peaceful protesters. All right, so that's number one. Sawant let the peaceful protesters / violent rioters into City Hall, who staged a late-night demonstration inside the building, inside City Hall. Genius. Super smart. I wonder what she was thinking. I can use my position to let these protesters in, and we're really going to show the city of Seattle what we're all about. Is that what's running through your head? This is going to make a difference. Me letting these people into City Hall to have their voices heard, that's not going to be an issue at all, because everybody's going to be acceptant of this, and it's going to be okay. I don't know. If she did have that running through her head, I'd be kind of like, all right. I mean, I can see you taking that risk, because she's a risk taker, that's for sure. But is that a good calculated risk? I don't think so. That's why we got a recall going. All right. But I've said before, I don't think Sawant will get recalled. I just don't. Most of these things, there's some legal technicality or something that comes up where they can't fully do the recall, but who knows? Maybe they will. Sawant delegated, this is a third thing. The second thing. We're still on the second thing here. Sawant participated in a march to Mayor Jenny Durkan's house last month, causing a breach that could have compromised the mayor's personal safety. It wasn't last month. When is this notice? October 12th. Was it September? I think it was in August when that happened. No, I think it was right before CHOP ended, so it would have been late June that Sawant did the protest. I think this article is wrong, I'm pretty sure, because I think July 1st is when Durkan sent the Seattle police through and did the raid on and cleared out CHOP, Cal Anderson Field, all that area. All right, so getting back, Sawant participated in a march to Mayor Jeremy Durkan's home, causing a breach that would have compromised the mayor's personal safety. Because of Durkan's previous work as a federal attorney, her home address is not widely known for security concerns. That's fair enough, right? I mean, you put a bunch of nut jobs in prison or jail. You worked on some high security cases. Okay, we're going to afford you a little level of protection. That's fair enough. But here we've got Sawant just basically going, yep, nope, I'm going to lead some Looney Tunes to your house. We're just going to see how this goes. Here's our protest. Here's what we want. Nice way of getting your point across. Sawant, this is the third thing here. So first, late night love fest in the city hall by the protesters. Second thing, led a march on Durkan's home. Not good. Third thing, Sawant delegated hiring and firing decisions of her office staff to her outside political groups, identified as the National Executive Committee and Seattle Executive Committee of the Socialist Alternative. Let me read that one again. Sawant delegated hiring and firing decisions of her office staff as a City of Seattle councilwoman. She delegated that to her outside political groups identified as the National Executive Committee and Seattle Executive Committee of the Socialist Alternative. I don't know if that is legal or not, but it just doesn't sound good, does it? It doesn't sound good. It's like me as a business owner, being a council member, and then having all my guys do a bunch of work that my people in the city council that I've hired there should be doing. Should you really have that? I don't know. I don't know if that's legal or illegal, but the fact that you've got people that are associated with the socialist movement in American politics at this level, people are going to say, if there is any impropriety there, they're going to put a microscope on it, and we're going to take a look at it. And that's really what we've gone on. So that's the third thing. She basically outsourced her hiring and firing to her own political group. Yep, and we're saying, oh, no, that's probably a no-go, Sawant. That's a no-go on top of these other two charges. Let's look at the fourth charge. Sawant misused city resources in promoting a ballot initiative earlier this year regarding passage of a new tax on some of the city's largest employers. Let's call it what it is. It's an Amazon tax. And in my time over at CHOP, there was always some jokester with a little table with a little thing that said hashtag tax Amazon, because they are really worked up and really excited in Seattle about taxing big successful businesses, because that's how you get your socialist platform across. You do the Robin Hood thing and you steal from the rich and give to the poor, but you do it in a legal manner. You tax big business because Lord knows those big businesses, they can afford it. They're making too much money. It's business. And that's part of the reason you're watching this podcast. I talk about reasonable things that have to do with business. You don't just tax somebody because they make money. That's not really how all this goes. Amazon pays their fair share of taxes, for sure. To set up a specific tax for them, guess what they're going to do? What are they going to do? What's Amazon going to do? Or I should say, actually, what has Amazon already done? They're shifting their people from Seattle to Bellevue, here where I live. That's what they're doing. And, you know, I think it's really sad for the people of Seattle to watch this. They're watching this train wreck of their city council going, what are we doing? And people of Seattle, if you're not, good luck with that ship going down. Enjoy. I hope you got a couple of paddles for your lifeboat, because you're going to need them. Pump up that lifeboat before your ship goes down, because this is one of those first things. You've got just council members doing Looney Tune stuff, representing Looney Tune people. But then again, I go back to somebody put them in office. There's a whole bunch of voters out there who said, you know what? Let's check out this alternative. Things aren't going that great in Seattle. let's really look at this option. Let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens. And now you're seeing what's happening, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. No, we didn't really mean all that political rhetoric. We didn't really mean for all that to happen. Let's try and get her out. That's what some people are saying is happening. And is that happening? To a certain extent, I'm sure. But if they've got her on these 4 things, if these 4 things can be proved, we'll see how it goes. There's a long process, like I read before, there's a long process of throwing out a city official from town hall. And I'm not really going to get into that because I'm just kind of following along as we go. But yeah, that's where we're at is we've got Sawant, maybe it's the second round and she's on the ropes a little, but it's the second round of a 5-round bout, and she is on the ropes just a little bit, a little defensive, and I didn't have my hands in front of my face because it would have knocked the microphone, and I know how annoying that is, but that's my boxing impression. I'm not much of a boxer. I'm not much of a fighter. But that's where Sawant is. She is experiencing some trouble, and we're going to continue covering it. But the second thing I want to go over is, all right, and in following up on the news story of Mayor Durkan being recalled, the latest news is, and this is kind of part 2 of this podcast, and this segment's going to be super short, so stick with me here. But Washington State Supreme Court tosses recall effort against Mayor Jenny Durkan. Tossed it out, threw it out, it's out of there, boom, gone. Let's take a look at it. The Washington State Supreme Court on Thursday reversed a lower court's ruling allowing a recall effort against Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan to proceed. Out of there, saying the arguments to remove the city's chief executive over police force were factually and legally insufficient. No go. The 2-page order that was signed by Chief Justice Deborah Stevens will likely end an attempt by 6 Seattle residents who had sought to have the mayor removed from office following the use of tear gas by Seattle Police Department officers in early June to quell chaotic and violent protests triggered by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. The state Supreme Court had agreed to hear Durkan's appeal, but decided that there would be no oral arguments. Both sides had to submit all filings and arguments by September 22nd, and the court decided to discuss the case in private on Thursday. It's interesting, no oral arguments. Durkan is a pretty damn good attorney. She really is. I mean, she was the lead Western District federal prosecutor? I don't know, but I know she is a top-notch attorney, whether you like her, hate her, whatever, don't want her in office. Good attorney, strong attorney. So did they say no oral arguments based on that? I have no idea. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I know oral arguments, you either write up what your arguments are or you do an oral argument, and maybe she would have killed it there because she's a good attorney and the other side wouldn't have had as much a chance. I have no idea, but that's what we're doing. Both sides had to submit all filings and arguments by September 22nd, and the court decided to discuss the case in private on Thursday, and this was like a week ago, I think. The High Court did not elaborate on its ruling, but indicated that it may issue a more detailed opinion later, if anybody cares. And I'm sure people do. They want to know the legal side. After the ruling, Durkan said in a written statement that she hoped the city could unite to tackle a host of problems. It needs uniting, that's for sure. We're going through the toughest times our city has faced. Every family worker and small business is feeling the impacts. Yes, they are. Durkan's statement said, our city deeply needs for all of us to set aside the rancor and come together to address the unprecedented challenges we face, like the COVID-19 pandemic, reimagining policing, addressing systemic racism, and making investments in BIPOC communities, and helping our small businesses and residents struggling in an economic crisis. Yep, all that stuff, true, needs to be dealt with one way or the other. Durkan argued that the push to recall her was based on a policy disagreement, not a violation of any law or standard, and her lawyers said the petitioners... Okay, so she had lawyers representing herself. I always understood that she was kind of... she was maybe doing some of her own, but I guess maybe that's not how you do it at this level. Said and her lawyers said the petitioners leading the recall had not identified what steps Durkan should have taken in the wake of June's widespread protests. So basically just threw out the decision. Mayor Durkan off the hook. We're gonna put all of our focus on to Kshama Sawant. That's what we're doing. All right, so that's what I've got. So as we have updates, I will keep you posted here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. No, this isn't directly real estate, but it sure has impacts on what's going on with real estate, doesn't it? Because when you've got these Looney Tunes running around, it's not good for property values. It's not good for business coming to the area. And I'm going to be talking more and more about that. These kind of decisions have trickle down effects throughout the local economy. And it's this kind of stuff going on that people are like, oh, Portland, oh, Seattle, not good. I'm going to stay away. I'm going to keep our business away from there. Because most of these people, guess what? Most of these politicians, they have never run a business, never done a payroll, never realized how much taxes actually are. And that's why we're willy-nilly, let's tax Amazon. Oh, they left? Damn it. Let's go tax the next biggest business. That's what we're doing here in Seattle. All right. So again, I'm Sean Reynolds from Summer Properties Northwest, Reynolds & Kline Appraisal. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love to have you subscribe. That's all I got today. See you on the next one. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.